I'm just going to do some perfect pitch drills today. I'm going to continue working on C, D, and E for another couple of days because I want to do a note every week, basically. By the end of 30 days, I am potentially going to continue this, but I don't know if I'll continue it online. Maybe I'll just come in every now and then as I feel like it to update you. So I wanted to check to make sure I'm actually live right now and make sure everything's working because it's a little bit of a different setup today for some reason. See, I've got different headphones in too. I broke my headphones. All right, it looks like we're active. I'm going to go ahead and do this. All right, so what note do you think that was? I just played it. That's an E, so I'm not going to be able to do my thing where I try and audiate a C. But what we are going to do today is you now have your E, so I want you to take a moment and think of a C. Don't sing it. Don't imagine yourself singing it. Just hear it in your head. And if you just came off the experiment week 2, then you probably have it fresh in your head. But let's go ahead and audiate. I'm going to play it in 1, 2, 3. Okay, now audiate a D. Audiate E. Audiate C. E. C. D. C. E. D. C. Okay, now I'm going to play a few notes, and this is going to be something where I will actually have to go back and do it later. I'll have to watch my own video because I know the notes I'm playing. But I'm going to play 2 notes, and you tell me what you think I'm playing. C and D. D and E. C and E. Go from bottom to top. You know what? Actually, we're doing perfect pitch. It doesn't matter. C and E. C and D. Just going to open this up. If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to ask because I have the live chat open. All right, let's go ahead and continue. D and E. D and E. So don't just use relative pitch. You can probably do that and you can probably get it right. You can probably hear, oh, that's like an inverted major third or something like that. But try not to hear it that way. Try and trust your intuition and your knowledge about what C and E sounds like now. And try and just say, hey, that's a C and an E, and I just know that. It's a hard thing to do if you have really good relative pitch, to separate yourself from the relative pitch. And you will probably be using a little bit of relative pitch to identify these notes. But if you can get to the point where you can listen to these two notes and you just hear a difference in quality, like they're different characters, and you're just like, that's a C and a D, then that'd be better. So the idea here is that we're only dealing with three notes. It's easier to hear the colors when there's fewer notes. And in some ways, it's easier to hear the colors when there's more notes. But if we're trying to play like a guessing game, I think limiting it to three right now is a good place to start. And we're going to add four, another note, in a few days here. C and E. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I want to go back into the end of every session. I always want to make sure that I am hearing the different colors, and then I want to stop while I'm ahead. So I accidentally hit the wrong key. I meant to hit a C, and I hit a D, and I knew I hit a D. And so that's a good sign. Yeah, that's the C. Okay, so I'm hearing them. All right, look, let me explain something about the way I'm doing this. So you'll see in the playlist, there's these quiet ear week 1, week 2 videos. Those have exercises in them and a talk at the beginning. Now, I'm doing this a little bit backwards because I'm doing the daily drills first, and then I'm going back and creating the quiet ear videos. But if you were new to this, you would actually start with the quiet ear lesson 1, and then each day you come in, listen to day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, and you watch that quiet ear video in addition to whatever lesson we're doing. Because that's essentially what I'm doing here at home. But you're getting the video later because I'm testing the ideas first, and then I'm putting them into an audio file that I think is what you should focus on for that week. So right now, for example, I'm actually going to share my screen with you because I can do that. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing. So if I go back to my home page, YouTube Studio, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. There we go, view my channel. All right, so if I go to the playlist here, I click on that. I've got a lot of playlists. Right now I'm doing the perfect pitch challenge. The quiet ear, if you click on that, those are just the lessons I've uploaded so far. They're in reverse order right now. I'll fix that eventually. If we go over here to the perfect pitch challenge, this is what the playlist you should actually be using for the most part. So what you'll see here is quiet ear lesson 1. You would use that for all 7 days. I'm now on day 12, right? But quiet ear lesson 2 actually starts after day 7. So once you see this appear in the playlist, you'll use it in conjunction with day 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So I have 2 more days on this lesson where we're still going to work with C, D, and E. And then what's going to happen if you're following along in real time, so you've actually been following me from the beginning, is after day 14, we'll go straight on to 15. You won't get a quiet ear lesson 3 because I haven't created it yet. So what happens is after a few days, like on Wednesday or Thursday, I will upload the new quiet ear lesson. and then you'll follow that lesson along with whatever remaining days you have. So that's kind of what we're doing here. It's totally an experiment. I am not trying to profit off this. It's just kind of a fun thing for me. One of the things is I'm working on the Flawless course. I'm working on this Composing Hour inner ear training course. I'm doing a lot of things that require a lot of mental effort. This one doesn't. This is almost like a daily meditation for me. And I'm just coming in. We're going to see how far I can get in 30 days. If I like it, I may continue it past 30 days. But maybe I'll just do it on the weekdays. I'll come in live and I'll do a session with you. And we'll continue to develop this as I have time. But right now, 30 days, we're going to see what I end up with. I'm already noticing some changes though, because I'm hearing, when I'm in the right mindset, a clear difference between C, D, and E. And when you did the quiet ear lesson 2, we had 4 different pianos going. You noticed how the piano can dramatically change the pitch. One of those pianos made an E sound like an F sharp to me. So I view an E as bright, and F sharp is kind of like, rah, kind of a little more angsty, a little more like ready to go. But I heard the E as having some of that texture. So what I think comparing 4 different pianos can do is help you get to the root of what E actually is. And it already has helped me, because now I see between the 4 pitches, 4 different pianos that I played, there are some things that were the same and some things that were different. And so I think that's what we're looking for. I don't think it's a good idea to compare other instruments right now. I think that you want to get really solid on the same basic timbre, even if the timbre changes a little, like the 4 different pianos that I did. But if you develop this perfect pitch where you can hear it on the piano, then I think it's time to branch out to other instruments. So, I'm just going to keep going and keep doing this as long as I think it's beneficial, as long as I'm seeing even the smallest bit of improvement. And I want to talk about that right now since I'm here and I have the time. Ear training. Okay. So I realize that the Flawless Ear Training course is a commitment. It's an investment. It's a little bit of money. It's really not that expensive. It's only $20 per unit, but it is a time investment. And you're sitting there thinking, well, 35, 40 minutes for the video lessons, that's quite the investment, right? Well, if you do the audio, it's only 20, but that's still kind of a daily investment. And so you want to make sure that you're getting results from it. And so here's my takeaway on that. When you study ear training in a college, you do 2 years. And most students they don't already have really great ears to begin with, what will happen is they'll come in and they will learn how to pass tests. They won't really develop their ear, but they will get a certain level of ear training. And depending on the school, you get really great ear training, maybe other schools not so great. But they have to skip steps. They have to move past things. And so what I'm getting at here is after 2 years in a program, you could, not necessarily, but you could still have a weak ear. And so what I'm doing here is I'm essentially saying that 2 years can be used better. Because if you're going to practice ear training for about 40 minutes to an hour a day, then I think it makes sense to make it gradual, to make sure that everything gets really heavily rooted in your brain. You build really strong pathways so that whatever you learn, you retain. And I also think that the development of this skill needs to be fairly slow, to the point where you don't necessarily know that you're getting better. But the way you can test yourself is when you come across a lesson that's difficult, wait about a week. Wait until you get maybe 7 lessons ahead. Then go back to that lesson and see, is this lesson easier for me? Then you have improved. The other thing is this lesson helping me with my real world playing? That would depend on whether or not you're doing the lesson and then going back and actually playing your instrument after the lesson. Because remember, the ear training sets the stage for everything we do. As musicians, we need to be able to hear, right? And so if you do your ear training first and then you practice, the ear training bleeds over into your practice sessions. So I'm actually going to do a talk on this. I'm going to talk, not going to talk too much about this, but when I created the Flawless course, I had a choice to make. I could make it so that it wasn't that many lessons, and I just gave you these core drills and I gave you homework to do, where I could say, okay, you're going to practice this till you master it, and then move on to the next lesson and get 100% on every lesson. Or I could take an approach where it's more like I come in every day. We worked on this one thing yesterday. I'm going to just add one other slightly different way of hearing it today. And I'm going to gradually, slowly build your skill until you are hearing everything that I think you should be able to hear. And well, way more than a college music program, but definitely what you'd get from a college music program. So that means you're going to be able to hear chord progressions. You should be able to do 4-part writing. You know, we start with 2-part writing, but you should be able to get up to 4-part writing. And we should be able to build these skills. The other thing is that I want to challenge everybody. So common research suggests that, you know, we can retain a maximum of about 12 to 16 notes in our memory if our memory is trained. And so with these dictations, which is something that a lot of people have trouble with, I think a lot of people aren't really understanding what they're there for. The dictations are there to increase your memory. So lesson 1, let's say everything's easy for you, but you can't get the dictation. Okay, then you come back for another 2 days, for a total of 3 days. And each day you say, okay, I got 2 notes of the dictation yesterday. I'm going to see if I can get 3 today. And then on day 3, you say, okay, I got 3. I'm going to see if I can get 4. And then you go on to lesson 2. You get 1 note. That's all you can remember, you know? Say, okay, I got 1 today. Tomorrow I'm going to come back and see if I can get 2. Then I'm going to see if I can get 3. Then lesson 3, maybe you get 3 notes. Okay, day 2, you come in, you're like, okay, can I get 4 notes? Can I get 5 notes? So you just slowly push yourself. Dictations are not intended to be memorized. For those of you that have a lot of time, you can go ahead and write out the dictations once you see them on the screen, and you can memorize them. And then you can come back the next day and try and pass it from memory. That's great, but it's not necessary, because what we're doing here is with these dictations, you're gradually increasing what your memory can hold and perceive. And then you're going to find that some of the exercises are really easy, almost passively easy. You know, that's the goal. But what you're not realizing is you're like a crab in a slowly boiling pot. They say that they don't notice that it's boiling until the water's boiling, and then they're gone, you know? So that's what's happening with the ear training, is you are very slowly being introduced to ear training. Okay. And we're going to continue to increase this difficulty as we go. And it's going to reach a point where all of a sudden you look back and you realize how far you've come. So it's a course for people that want to be patient. It's a course for people that want to go step by step by step and not have to have huge challenges in every single lesson. So it's not huge things to master. And then by the end of the entire course, yeah, it's going to take you a while. I would expect for the average person, it could take up to 4 years to complete. Other people, it could take 2 years. But at the end of that, I mean, what would you give to have like a really solid ear? That's the point of this course. And I hope it works for all of you. You should know by the end of Unit 1. If you haven't seen any progress at all, if your ear is exactly the same at the end of Unit 1, try a different course. Maybe this isn't right for you. Or talk to me and let me know what you're experiencing. Let's make sure you're going through the course in the right way, you know? So I'm going to talk more about this, but I'm going to leave it at that for today. Keep enjoying this perfect pitch training. I'm enjoying it, having fun, seeing where we can go with this, and I will see you next time.